Now welcome back to part 2 of my custom character creation for VRChat tutorial. Now if you haven't watched part 1, here's a link in the description to go to part 1 and get yourself familiar before proceeding on. But if you came here from part 1, well, here's part 2 guys, get ready for it. Now we're going to go ahead and put our model into Unity and optimize it to where it works better for VRChat on both our end and the other player's ends. So let's go ahead and get into it. Back to Unity, make sure that we're going to be using PC, Mac, and Linux standalone 3D DirectX 11 for the project type. And let's go ahead and get rid of this guy for now. Assets, and let's go ahead and bring in my tutorial model. The only thing that we'll have to do is position him. So let's 0, 0, 0. Okay, cool. So he's right here. See, he's using my textures. And the reason that was done, and here's another thing, it tends to output all the textures whenever you export it. It puts them in PNG format, which this entire 2048 by 2048 PNG is 3.5 megabytes. Now, I actually tried making it a Snapchat lens, this model, and I realized that the file size was too large because everything turned out to about 16 megs, which really wasn't good. So what you can actually do is to optimize it. You can edit all your textures as you'd like and save them as, you know, varying quality JPEG files. For example, the skin tone went from 3.5 to 293 kilobytes. That's less than a tenth of the size. Oops, let's go back to that. What's another big changer we had? Let's see, the clothing. The clothing went from 2.4 megabytes to 138 kilobytes. That's crazy. That's less than a 90% reduction. Shoes went from 1.39 megabytes to 80 kilobytes with very little detail loss. It's going to all be about cutting a few corners here and there just to make sure whenever you get your model into the game, it doesn't take a while for it to load on other people's, other people's games, just so it doesn't, you want people to see what you made. But let's go ahead and from here, oh yeah, he's still using my textures, but to edit the textures, once you have your JPEG textures, let's go to materials, and let's say I wanted to change my clothing back to the old style. I would just click select, and it would bring up my my textures. But how you're going to get them here is you're going to go in your documents folder, and I just exported my model all the way straight there. You're going to go in your documents folder, and you're going to find your project name. I named my project VRChat, so it's just going to be like this. You're going to go in assets, and then you're just going to export your model right here, right into this folder. As simple as that. So we're going to go ahead and, let's see, main color, select, and see, you just select, and it changed. Oh, that was the short sleeve, long sleeve. There we go. It's a bit of change, but here we go. Long sleeved, better. But if I wanted to change it back to my old style, good enough. Okay, here's the JPEG. Cool. Now with the render modeling, with the fingers, not the render modeling, just the rigging of it. What you'll have to do is see where it has import settings. Click on your model in the the project viewer. I don't even know what you call this, but on your assets folder, click tutorial or whatever you named your model, animation type, and go to the rig tab. Make sure you go to the rig tab, and it's going to be humanoid. Avatar definition, create from this model. Do not check optimize game objects. I realize that screws you up. Don't check that. Leave it unchecked. Let's click configure, and we're going to save. We're going to apply. And now it's going to load up. What it's going to try to do is map everything to a bone. But in VRChat, what you don't want is you don't want the upper chest. You do not want upper chest. That tends to not make things work right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to delete, oopsies, let's go ahead and go back. We're going to go ahead and just delete that upper chest and remap what we have on the upper chest. This bone right here. Oh, whoopsies again. Okay. Chest right here. Let's remap this to our chest. Okay, good. Everything else should be good as far as everything except the hands. Because if we're going to look at it. Okay, index, ring. Let's see. Just make sure all this checks out. Let's see. Middle. Okay, middle. Let's see what we have here. Okay. Okay, everything seems to be working out on here. Just make sure everything checks out again. Thumb, index, middle, ring, pinky. Okay, cool. And now with the let's try the head as well. For mouth animation, not important, but make sure you give it that jaw and give the jawbone on it if you want to give it any mouth animation. If you don't give any mouth animation, maybe just using the maybe you can cut out the teeth to save a few polygons. So when all that is said and done, we can go ahead and click apply and done. And I wonder if it used the same polygons actually, which I hope it didn't. Let's see, just to check. Okay. Now what we're going to need is an avatar descriptor on our project. So where it has add component, we're going to have to add a script. And before we do that, to install the VRChat SDK in Unity, you just download the file and run it. And it should automatically load in Unity. Nothing big. I just wanted to make sure I didn't leave that out. See, it's already in the project because I've already installed it. But we're going to go ahead and add a component to our player model, which we call tutorial. And we're going to call it a script. And it's going to be, let's see, VR SDK2. And it's going to be VR character, where's character descriptor? Player audio avatar descriptor. There we go. Now you're going to see this little bitty white dot now show up. That white dot, that white ball is going to be your viewport. So put it where you expect the front of a VR headset to be. So imagine that this guy's wearing the VR headset. So I'm probably going to edit the y-axis, make it go up a little bit. I think 1.67 was the proper. Yeah, about right there. And maybe let's scoot it a little closer to him. How about 0.17 or 1.5? You know, it's going to take some tinkering. You're probably not going to get it on your first try. But just where you expect the front of that VR headset to be. And once you have that, let's go ahead and check our VRChat SDK and know that you'll need to be logged in to your VRChat account and make sure you're using release API and future-proof publish. And build control panel. Now here's where I had a problem. The avatar has too many polygons. It must have less than 20K and should have less than 10K. Now we're going to get this thing under 10K and watch exactly how we're going to do it. Now, earlier I talked about the Mantis LOD editor. And to do that, all you have to do is take that Mantis LOD editor, which you've downloaded. Let's go up a few folders. Go into assets, and we're just going to drag it in. We will just drag it in. Well, that's because don't copy it straight from WinRAR. But it's there. You'll see it there. And all you'll have to do is we're going to have to choose what we need to simplify. And to figure out what we're going to have to simplify, what I'll recommend is keeping your body mesh. Everything's in different meshes, as you can see. The eyelashes are mesh different from the eyeballs, which are different from core parts of my body, to the clothing, to the shoes, and to the hair. Now, some places that I like to actually start cutting corners is the clothing. That's where you can knock out a lot of polygons. So let's go to clothing, select the mesh, and we're going to go to Window, Mantis LOD Editor, Component Editor, and LOD Editor Online. And we're going to go ahead and scroll down. Okay, upload mesh data. As you can see right now, it's 4,120. I think we can get it down to about 1,500. But once that uploads, you'll see, okay, upload success. So now as you can see, it's going to do that. I wouldn't recommend using that dragger because it's going, every click, it's going to re-upload it and decrease the polygon count. Just not good. So what I like to do is I like to type a number here. I think the good quality I had for it was 40% or 45. So let's go ahead and copy it, 45%, and we're just going to do it, paste it, and it's going to allow you to preview it all as time goes. Okay, so we've decreased it from 4120 to now 1812, and if you look around, there aren't any major, you know, dropbacks. I don't see anything that could have hurt the quality. But right now, if we keep it like this, we're under 20K, so we're good. Just to show you what to do, let's go ahead and save this mesh. And quality 45 is what we're going to use. And it's going to save right to your assets folder. And now, when you click off of it, it goes back to its original polygon count. So what you'll have to do is go to the casual suit, and where it has mesh, you're going to have to find your decreased mesh, which is quality 40. Let's use the 40 that I had. So you're going to take this 40, drag it onto mesh, and that's going to decrease your polygon count. And if we look at the build control panel, we're at 17,304 polygons. Now, some places that I recommend knocking off a lot of polygons from, the clothes, the teeth. The teeth are more complex than you think they are. So let's go ahead and just bring our very low detailed teeth, which I have right here. And okay, now if I go and I check, let's see how many polygons. Yeah, we just knocked out like 3K right there. We're at 11. And it's going to be a lot of tinkering, all your personal preference to whatever you'd like. The hair is another one that you can knock a good bit off of. Let's take the hair short to, we're going to take the hair and find where we can, where's the hair? Quality 35, quality 3580, this was mine. Okay, so we're going to do this. And another thing you can knock a lot off is the shoes. I knocked like a lot off the shoes. Shoes were maybe like 1,000. I got them to like 200 or some very low count. Because I mean, who really looks at the shoes? Give yourself skinny feet as well. But now let's check again. You can always use this build control panel to check your polygon count. Right now we're sitting at 5,800 polygons. So we decreased our polygon count by about 75%. Now it says it won't let you build and publish until you remove the Mantis editor off of something, but that won't revert your polygon count. All you have to do is just go to the settings and hit remove component. And if you go back to the SDK build panel, it's ready to go. Now, just to test it, now again with the materials, you can just edit those textures, save them as JPEG. But if you're having issues displaying your textures, for example, maybe the hair won't load right, go to your materials, and for anything that does not have transparency in it, for example, like the clothing, make sure that you have your shader as legacy shader, bump to diffuse, and anything that does have transparency, like your hair. Now your hair is something that you won't be able to save as a JPEG because PNG supports variable transparency, and that's what this hair texture has. So it's something that you'll have to keep as PNG. But For anything that has transparency, you're going to have to do legacy shaders, transparent, bump diffuse, and that's just going to make sure everything loads in right. So if a texture doesn't look right or a material doesn't look right for any reason, you're going to have to make sure you have it set right. The only ones I believe that have transparency are the hair and eyelashes. Everything else can just be legacy bump diffuse, and it should load good. But now with all that done, let's go ahead and add one last thing to our player, and that's going to be a lip sync. Now this is something that you may have to play around with, but let's just do jaw flat bone. Why is it not detecting my bone? But if it's not detecting your bone, just say use the jawbone like that. It's really funny. The jawbone and the lip syncing is really funny, as you'll see in a little bit whenever I actually try it in the game with the player model that I have the player model I've already created, because I don't want to overwrite it with something that looks similar and accidentally delete it. But there is some more detail that you can go into with standing and sitting animations. That's more advanced tutorials. That could be for either another day once I learn more about it, or that's something you can go and learn more about yourself. But I like this controller. I like to do an animation controller and just add my simple avatar controller to it, because it's going to put yourself in, an idle pose whenever you go and upload it. But whenever you think everything's all ready to go, you can always check by going to the VRChat SDK build control panel. And if it's not giving you any errors or anything, and build and publish, it's letting you click it, we're going to go ahead and click it. And whenever we click it, it's going to wait a little while. Let's see. Again, it can take a while. But whenever that's done, it's going to load you into like a game. If it doesn't work, try it again. I've had a couple faults with it, but again, it's all free. What do you expect? You're not paying any money for it, so who cares? And if we look at it, now the reason that you can kind of see the skin poking through on the shirt is that maybe we decreased the polygon count too much, and we can fix that by actually just increasing the polygon count using the Mantis LOD editor on the original mesh, and increasing the polygon count a little bit until everything smooths out. But we can take this camera, put it up, give yourself a mugshot, just like that, and we're gonna just name it tutorial test, and check that. Any content warnings if you make yourself weird. Okay, now let's go ahead and upload, and this will take about a minute or so. For me, I'm on Wi-Fi. It's taking me about 2 or 3 minutes, depending on how it is. Pretty much once that bar goes, you go through again, and it'll be like, okay, you're good. While that's doing that, let me go ahead and get Steam loaded, and I'll be back in VRChat. Okay, everybody, we're back in VRChat. Now I'm using the default player model. As you can see, lip syncing just isn't good. Let's see if I can point fist. Yeah, lip syncing is not good. I'm using one of the default player models, and I can load up one of the player models that I just created and show you how it came out. Now, to do that, if you know how to do that already, hey, there's our testing guy. Let's see if we can load him. Hey, hi there. Yeah, huh? Let's make sure this is him. Oh, okay. See, oh, tutorial test. See, made 2 different ones, but let's load the tutorial test now. That was my good one, which again I'll have to edit the close on it, like I said. Okay, now that it loaded up. Now, yeah, as you can see, the mouth is weird. But regardless, hand tracking works. I can throw out a peace sign, I think. No, I think that was when everything was still screwy. Oh no, you do that. Yeah, peace sign. You can do a peace sign. And again, as you can see, look, that's what happens when you decrease the polygon count too much on the shirt stuff tends to go through. But again, it's a very low poly count, so it really doesn't matter what you do in it or not. See, shoes are pretty basic. Now, it looks like you're crouching. You can go to the system and make sure you have your player height set right, which I don't know why it's not set right. Do it to where you're not crouching and you're not on your tippy toes. So right now 510 seems to be what it's liking right now. But all the fingers work as they should, which is something that took me a while to find out. That's another thing. I can't figure out how to do the rock out. Okay, so I'm doing that. Okay, so, okay, cool. If in the case that your mouth is like this, how I fixed it is I went in Unity and I closed my mouth a little extra than what it should be. And as we go to here, let's go ahead and show you. Okay. And whenever I went ahead and closed it, it went to something more neutral. And it's still like sporadic. And I don't know how to fix that, so I have no clue. But runs around pretty nice. Again, I can go ahead and if I wanted to, I can grab something and I can throw it, but enough of that. I hope you learned a good bit from this tutorial. I hope you found the way by not finding the way. Very, very, very lame thing. I'm sorry about that. But I hope this is fun. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned a lot, and peace out.